Hello, welcome back to Off the Map Gaming. I'm Emily.
Hello, I'm Alex, and we're playing a little... they already spotted me a little bit. We're playing Fallout 4, because the Backstreet Boys are back, baby, and everybody has tickets, probably.
Probably.
Most likely.
Yep.
Okay, so, let's take out some fools here. Think I can get his head a bunch?
Mm-hmm.
Boom, boink. Oh, they're like cool. Oh my god. Whoops. Shoot. I'm gonna die. I died.
You died.
Last time we were talking about, well, you wanted to talk about Game of Thrones. And
I will always talk about Game of Thrones.
And like the themes in Game of Thrones.
Don't talk to me about Game of Thrones unless you have, a good amount of time to spare, because
well, we have a whole 15-ish minutes, so
all right, I started reading the books or I started listening to the audiobooks, and I kind of did that because I hated the last season so much.
Yeah,
and it killed my love of the show to the point where I can't rewatch anymore.
Like, I know why you don't like the last season of Game of Thrones, but why don't you explain it to our audience?
Okay, so I actually stopped watching the show like halfway through season 5 when season 5 was coming out, because I just felt like it was dumb. I thought that it got really boring, and there was this whole subplot in Dorne, and I was over it.
That's fair.
And like I mentioned in a previous episode, I have a really hard time with shows that are like needlessly upsetting, where you just know nothing's gonna get better. There's no reason to hope.
Yeah,
people are just dying, and
we were talking about Breaking Bad before.
Yeah, Breaking Bad and The Walking Dead, like shows like that where it's just bad. It's just terrible.
All the way through, and things feel like they're not going to go anywhere good, right?
I have a really hard time with shows like that. I can do movies that are like that. Mm-hmm. I have the hiccups, I'm sorry. But I can do movies because they're shorter, and you can like spend 2 hours in that kind of world and then leave and you're fine, and it's great, whatever.
Yeah.
But for the first time that I like watched Game of Thrones, like when I started it and got through to I got caught up to what was now being on TV, I wasn't really watching and understanding the themes of the show and like why characters died and why bad things were happening, which now that I've not only watched the show a couple times through, but I've also started with the books, I understand why that is, and it's because it's a very like character driven narrative where if you make a decision and it's the wrong decision, there are consequences.
And sometimes those consequences are death.
Sometimes, yeah. But like in the book, especially, you can like pinpoint when a decision is made and then why it leads to, like in the Red Wedding, like there is like several points where it's even hinted at that like this was a bad decision, probably should have done something differently. Mm-hmm. And that I can handle a little bit more because at least then it feels a little bit more realistic. It's not just like for the Red Wedding, Rob went back on his word several times or something like that, right? There's a couple things like he like the big one is obviously that he married a woman that he wasn't betrothed to, but then there's also like the way that he interacted with his generals in his war, or like the men in his war, and like just all sorts of stuff where he was making good tactical decisions in battle, but his like personal decisions were very, very much the result of a young person who's never done this before. Because in the book, he's not even, I don't even think he's 16 yet. I think he's like 15 or 16. And he's obviously aged up in the show, but like in the book, you're like, oh, right, no, he's like a kid. This is a child.
Yeah.
And, he's good at what he does, and he has a lot of like, almost like beginner's luck.
But in the end, it doesn't matter because he doesn't, you can play the war game, but he couldn't play the social game. Yeah, and, he is a 16-year-old boy ruled by his penis. It happens. It sucks. All the time.
But it's,
It happens all the time.
Oh, gosh. But the reason that especially, like, the last 2 seasons of the show, because I actually liked season 6. I stopped halfway through season 5, and I didn't watch for, like, a year. I didn't watch until season 6 was coming out. And then I was like, okay, I've already watched most of this show. I might as well just see it through to the end, because I knew that there was going to be, like, there wasn't going to be much left of it. And I did really like season 6. And I know a lot of people that I knew at the time were like, oh, it's like probably not going to be very good because this is when they run out of books. And I was like, well, the last season wasn't very good and they had a book to go off, so can't be worse than that.
And then it was.
Like, season 6, I actually don't remember season 6 very well because I only watched it, I think, one time. And I usually like to watch, I have a really hard time paying attention to shows on a first viewing, so I like to go through and watch, like, if a new season's coming out, I go watch the old season to really get a sense of, like, what happened and try to catch things that I missed and important, important setups and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't do that with season 6 because season 5 and season 6, although I thought season 6 was okay, it was boring.
Yeah.
Those 2 seasons were boring, and it was a lot of, like, putting people in place for a big thing that's going to happen probably eventually.
And then it never
and then the funny
pays
thing
off.
is that's what season 7 was too, but on a, like, much more fast-paced and, like, unbelievable scale. Like, everybody fast travels in season 7, and so you're like,
they just
okay,
open up their map and click on a location and they're there in seconds.
Yeah, and you're like, okay, so you need to be in this area of Westeros for this specific showdown, but you're over on the other side, so we're just gonna, like, la-di-da, like, oh, we're here now. Hey,
yeah, gosh. So easy.
Oh, wow, I just rode my horse all day and all night. Across an entire continent. Like, and it's fine.
Everybody's like, how'd you get here so quick?
Yeah, but with season 7 and season 8 especially, it became really glaringly obvious that there were plot points that they just were not going to pay off.
Mm-hmm.
They were just nothing mattered anymore because it wasn't about characters anymore, it was about plot. And they knew where they wanted the plot to go, so it didn't matter if characters were acting out of character or if entire storylines were being dropped, like with Dorne or with Bran. Like, why would you have a character acquire all of these really cool magical powers and then have him literally do nothing for 2 seasons?
Yeah.
He like sits in a chair and he's like,
and he stares at things.
Even things like, I don't know, should I say spoilers? It's been a year.
Yeah, no, you should. I mean, anything more than like 5 years ago is probably off the table.
Spoilers. But turn it off and watch it if you want to. I don't recommend it though.
I don't recommend the whole show. I recommend the first 4 seasons and then that's it. Turn it off. Read the books. But even with, like, Jon Snow's surprise parentage, which even in the books that seems like what's going to happen, but it didn't mean anything. It didn't do anything.
It came up in, like, 1 episode, even though it was built up over, like, the season finales of 2 seasons. Like, the season finale of season 6 was about Jon not being Ned's son, and then season 7, their finale was like, oh, he's actually the legitimate son of the king, and he should be the king. And you're like, oh man, that's gonna have some really cool character drama in the next season with, him being with Daenerys and blah, 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 whatever. But even that didn't matter.
And then, like, nothing happened.
It didn't matter. He didn't become the king. He rode off to steal something from Lindsay Ellis, who did a really great 2-part video about why Game of Thrones was so upsettingly sad. He just,
yeah,
fucks off to Snowchella up north, and he, that's it. Like,
nothing comes of it.
Yeah, and I've seen a lot of people say that, that's probably was always going to happen. They just didn't have time to.
No, keep going.
The dog's gonna eat our bread or something. And
oh my god. Okay, one sec.
We're just gonna pause here for a second.
All right, keep it going.
No. So what was I saying?
You were talking about Jon.
Oh no. So I think a lot of what happened in the show is in some way going to happen in the book, but because the writers, like the showrunners, decided that they just wanted to end the show, and kind of have it done with, they just moved everything along so fast that none of it made sense. None of it meant anything to the characters. They just had to get from point A to point B as fast as possible. So, that ended up sacrificing a lot of really important, like, setup and payoff, and characters started acting really dumb. Like, I will never forgive the showrunners for ruining Tyrion Lannister.
Oh my god.
That is, like, the worst thing, like, the worst crime
because he became so stupid.
Oh, he became stupid, and, like, in the book,
he's a case of the dumbs.
Oh, he had the dum-dums so bad.
Yes, Kat.
Well, and in the book, he's kind of, I mean, he very much becomes, like, a dark character who is fueled by this, like, need for revenge.
God. Sorry,
you're
keep
doing
going.
Great. No, you're doing great, babe.
So good. I'm doing so great. Good.
I'm never
boy.
Been more proud of you.
Screw this, man. Sucks.
But I mean, like, Tyrion is one of the best things about Game of Thrones, and he's wasted in the last 2 seasons. And he's only there to make really bad decisions. And it wouldn't even have mattered if he was purposefully making bad decisions. Like, I've seen a lot of people that are like, you can fix this by just having him be unsure if he actually wants to defeat his family. Like, have it be a conflict of family loyalty. That makes way more sense than him just having taken a bunch of stupid pills.
Which is exactly what he did.
That is what he did. And it's just, yeah, as I'm reading the book, I'm just realizing more and more how much potential there was.
I was pressing B.
And how much they just wasted. Like, I mean, they cut entire plot lines out of the books that would have been really cool to see on scene, and like on screen, and that.
So you mentioned that they cut a lot of plot lines out of the book, a lot.
Yeah.
But like, what plot lines exactly? Because I've never noticed.
Lady Stoneheart.
Oh, Lady Stoneheart. Okay, you did tell me about her. Ooh. She did sound really cool.
And that is like its own. I mean,
That's Catelyn come back from the dead, everybody.
Yeah. That's Catelyn Stark resurrected as, like, a murderous revenge zombie, and it's so cool. And that would have been something that would be really cool to see on screen, because it has a lot to do with, I mean, it affects several characters on a very big, like, scale. I mean, that's, Brienne and the Stark girls and, like, all of these characters that now have to face this horrifying, shell of someone that they knew and loved. Mm-hmm. That's cool. That's something that you want to see on screen, and they just didn't even include it.
That's like a real zombie story right there. Mm-hmm. Like,
yeah, and it's
facing somebody that has come back from the dead that you used to love, but is now just a murder zombie. Mm-hmm.
Hell bent on revenge at any cost. Well, and what's sad too is that taking out or like leaving out Lady Stoneheart also leaves out a big point in the books, which is that when you're resurrected, you don't just come back and everything is fine. You don't come back and you're like, I'm the same person that I was and death did nothing to me. No, just like everything else, that decision and that act has a consequence. And a lot of times it's that you come back different. You sacrifice a little bit of yourself every time, like with Beric Dondarrion, who's a great, much better character in the books, like all of them. I feel like I'm just I'm just that person that's like, the books are better. Only read the books.
I mean, I'm not saying that that's not what you're doing right now, because it totally is.
It is, and that's how it feels. Like, making my way through the books, I'm like, oh, this is just so much better.
This is better in every way.
And I think the sad thing
Everybody
is, though,
should know.
The sad thing is, though, is that, like, the first 4 seasons of the show is so good that, like, the potential was there to make the shows their own incredible, fantasy story that, while not following the books entirely, which is fine, that's adaptation. It still could have been something that was, like, on its own level. But that didn't happen, and that's sad. Like,
it just sucks.
Yeah.
And it's not like, I mean, it's nobody but D&D's fault, but,
Yeah. Yeah. And it's sad because it has really changed the way that I feel about the show as a whole. Like, I used to recommend that show to everybody, and I'd be like, no, seriously, like, I know that everybody
just tells you that it's sex and violence, but it's not.
It is.
And well, it is.
It is, but it's not. Yeah, like, I used to tell everybody, like, you have to watch it, like, it's so good. And now I don't think I could ever recommend it to somebody again, just because.
I'm so angry right now.
Are you fucking kidding me?
Well, pause for a minute.
Pause for a minute.
Be right back. Welcome back. Oh no, Daenerys has her AirPods in. Sorry. No. Dumb joke.
Honestly, so here's the thing. I literally could go on forever, because, like, this is just where my mind is at now, because I'm getting through these books. Mm-hmm. But I do think there's something really interesting about the fact that, like, even though it ended badly, even though, you know, so many people were so disappointed, and for me personally, it's completely changed the way that I view the series as a whole.
Yeah.
I think there's something to be said about the fact that people are still talking about it a year later. And most people, I mean, you know, there's not really people making videos on YouTube about it anymore, or, you know, whatever, but, you know, here I am almost exactly a year later.
Making a video on YouTube about it.
Yeah, pretty much. Ha! You all got tricked into watching 15 minutes of me shitting on the last season of Game of Thrones.
Yeah, I mean, what are you gonna do?
But I think that just, like, shows how much of a cultural impact it had. And
it was, like, kind of a cultural phenomenon, wasn't it?
It was, and I know, you know, I think a lot of that had to do with that it's fantasy TV doesn't really exist, like true high fantasy. It's not really something you see on TV. You see it in books and you see it on film, but it's not really something that you see. Like, I can't really think of another high fantasy TV show.
Another high fantasy TV show, like Kings and Queens and such.
Yeah, like, you know, kind of Tolkien-esque. I mean, there is going to be one. I know Amazon is making a Lord of the Rings series, which I'm actually kind of excited for.
Oh yeah, I bet you are.
But I don't know. I think that it just shows how.
Oh no!
It kind of illustrates exactly what Game of Thrones is about. How seemingly small decisions can lead to a really upsetting payoff. And, you know, because, I mean, there were people that were saying, like, well, we should have known when this wasn't included, and this wasn't included, and this happened. But
it is time to sign off, especially since this is happening again. We might have to do something else next time, but
I mean, I don't want to say that it's a sign that we shouldn't be playing Fallout, but every episode we've done so far has had some sort of technical difficulty, so maybe it's a sign.
I think it might be a sign, especially since, you know, my computer's been dying a lot more recently since I've installed this game. I need to just fix my computer. Anyway, for now, though, we will see everybody in the next episode, which will probably be an episode of Catherine. We're recording more of that tonight. So
very exciting.
We will see everybody then. Catch you later.
Stay safe, kids.
Bye-bye.
I think I have a concussion.
I don't know why it's doing that.
It's so annoying. And, like, my computer's been having a lot of trouble recently, especially. And I just don't know what it is.